There was a student, 17 years old, who spent 6 hours reading the same chapter over and over, highlighting every line, making beautiful notes. The next morning, he opened his book for the exam, and his mind was blank, completely empty, as if he'd never studied at all. He looked around the classroom, other students writing confidently, while he sat there, frozen, wondering if he was broken. You clicked on this video because you know that pain. You've spent hours studying, days preparing, weeks memorizing, and when it mattered most, everything vanished like it was never there. You blamed yourself, called yourself stupid, wondered why everyone else can remember things and you can't. But what if the problem was never your brain? What if nobody ever taught you how to remember? What if everything you were told about studying was designed to fail? By the end of this video, you'll understand why your brain forgets and the exact system Japanese students use to remember thousands of complex characters for years. Not by studying harder, but by working with how memory actually operates. This is not about motivation. This is about the science of forgetting and the art of never letting go. His name was Rohan. 17 board exams in 3 months. Every day, the same routine. Wake up at 5 a.m., study until midnight, coffee keeping him awake, fear keeping him going. 12 subjects to cover, hundreds of chapters, thousands of concepts, and no matter how much he studied, his brain refused to hold on to anything. His parents would ask, "Did you study?" "Yes," he'd say. But inside, he knew the truth. He'd read the words. His eyes had scanned every page, but nothing had actually entered his mind. It was like pouring water into a bucket with holes. There's a scientific reason for this. In 1885, German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered something that changed everything we know about memory: the forgetting curve. Here's what he found. Within 24 hours of learning something, your brain forgets about 70% of it. Within a week, you've lost 90%. This isn't because you're lazy or broken. This is how every human brain works, unless you fight back. Your brain is designed to forget because every single day you're bombarded with millions of pieces of information. If your brain remembered everything, you'd go insane. So it filters, keeps what it thinks is important, and throws away the rest. The problem? Your brain doesn't think studying is important, not naturally. When you passively read a textbook, your brain treats it like background noise, like an advertisement you scroll past, like a conversation you overhear but don't join. That's why highlighting doesn't work, why rereading doesn't work, why cramming the night before fails you every single time. You're not teaching your brain that the information matters, you're just hoping it sticks. And hope is not a strategy. Rohan didn't know any of this. He thought if he studied harder, longer, more intensely, eventually something would click. So he gave up sleep, gave up friends, gave up everything that made him feel human, and still, his mind stayed empty. One night, after another failed practice test, he broke down at his desk at 2 a.m. His mother found him there, shoulders shaking. "I can't do this," he said. "There's something wrong with me." She didn't argue, didn't tell him he was smart. She just asked one question that changed everything. "Has anyone ever taught you how to study?" Silence. The answer was no. The next morning, Rohan's mother showed him a documentary about Japanese students who memorized thousands of kanji characters, each one more complex than anything in the English alphabet, and remember them for years. "How?" Rohan asked. His mother smiled. "They don't study harder, they study smarter." That week, she introduced him to Mr. Tanaka, a teacher who had taught in Tokyo for 30 years, who understood memory not as a gift, but as a skill. Mr. Tanaka didn't start with study tips, he started with a question. Rohan, when you study, what do you do? Rohan described his routine: reading, highlighting, making notes. Mr. Tanaka nodded slowly. And how much of that do you remember the next day? Almost nothing, Rohan admitted quietly. Good, because now you know the truth. Everything you've been doing is passive. Your brain is in receive mode, not learn mode. He leaned forward. Real learning doesn't happen when you put information into your brain, it happens when you try to pull it back out. That sentence changed everything. Mr. Tanaka explained the first principle Japanese students use: active recall. Instead of reading your notes over and over, you close your book, take a blank sheet of paper, and try to write down everything you remember about the topic. No peeking, no hints, just you and the empty page. But that's hard, Rohan said. Exactly. That's the point. When you struggle to remember something, your brain creates stronger neural pathways. It's like exercise. When you lift weights, your muscles don't grow during the lift. They grow during recovery when your body rebuilds them stronger. Memory works the same way. The harder you try to recall, the stronger the memory becomes. This is why cramming fails. When you passively reread notes, your brain recognizes the information. Recognition feels like knowledge, but it's not. Recognition is I've seen this before. Recall is I can recreate this from nothing. There's a massive difference. That night, Rohan tried it. He studied a chapter on photosynthesis, then closed his book and tried to write everything he remembered. It was brutal. He struggled, forgot key points, had to check his notes multiple times. But each time he tried to recall, he felt something different. His brain was working, not just receiving. The next day, he tried to recall again. This time, more came back. By the third day, he could write almost the entire chapter from memory without looking once. For the first time in years, something had actually stuck. You're learning, Mr. Tanaka said at their next session, but you're making one critical mistake. Rohan looked up. What? You're trying to learn everything at once. Mr. Tanaka explained the second principle, the Kumon method, named after a Japanese educator who revolutionized how children learn. The idea is simple: learn in small, daily chunks. Most students try to study for hours at a time, thinking I'll study from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. and cover everything. But here's what really happens. After about 25 minutes, your brain's attention starts to fade. By 45 minutes, you're barely absorbing anything. By 2 hours, you're just staring at words. Japanese students don't do this. They study for 15 to 30 minutes. Then they stop, take a break, then come back and study for another 15 to 30 minutes. But that's so little, Rohan protested. Is it? Mr. Tanaka asked. 15 minutes of deep, focused study where your brain actually learns versus 3 hours of passive reading where nothing sticks, which is really more. The answer was obvious. There's a concept in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, that explains this perfectly. He calls it the power of 1% improvement. If you get 1% better every single day in 1 year, you're not 365% better, you're 37 times better, because improvement compounds just like interest in a bank account. Small daily progress multiplies into massive transformation over time. Mr. Tanaka gave Rohan a challenge. For the next week, study for just 15 minutes a day. But during those 15 minutes, give it everything. No phone, no distractions, just you and the material. Rohan agreed. The first day felt strange. He set a timer for 15 minutes, studied one concept from chemistry, and when the timer rang, he stopped even though he felt like he could keep going. The next day, he did the same thing. One concept, 15 minutes, full focus. By the end of the week, he had studied 7 concepts. Not many, right? Is less than #0. 8 hashes greater than. But here's what shocked him. He remembered all 7 perfectly because his brain had time to process each one deeply. Compare that to his old method where he'd cram 20 concepts in one night and forget 19 of them by morning. This is the power of the Kumon method. It's not about quantity. It's about quality, about giving your brain the space to actually learn instead of drowning it in information. You're doing better, Mr. Tanaka said during their 3rd session, but there's one more problem. What? Rohan asked. You're forgetting to remember. Rohan looked confused. Mr. Tanaka smiled and explained the 3rd principle, spaced repetition, the most powerful memory technique ever discovered. Here's how most students study. They learn something once, then move on to the next topic, never coming back to review, so their brain assumes the information wasn't important and deletes it. Japanese students do the opposite. They revisit information right before their brain is about to forget it, not randomly but strategically. Here's the pattern. Study something on day 1, review it on day 2, review again on day 4, then day 7, then day 14, then day 30. Each time you review, you're catching the memory right before it fades. And each time you catch it, the memory becomes stronger, lasts longer, requires less effort to recall. This is why cramming fails so spectacularly. When you cram, you're trying to force everything into your brain in one night. Your brain has no time to process, no time to move information from short-term to long-term memory, so the next day it's gone. But when you space your learning out over days and weeks, your brain has time to consolidate, to move the information from temporary storage to permanent storage. Mr. Tanaka gave Rohan a simple system. Every night before bed, spend 10 minutes reviewing what you learned 3 days ago. Not what you learned today, what you learned 3 days ago. This forces your brain to work to recall it, and that struggle makes the memory permanent. Rohan tried it that night, reviewing a chapter he'd studied 3 days earlier. At first, he couldn't remember much, but as he struggled, pieces started coming back. Within 5 minutes, he'd recalled almost everything. The next morning, he tested himself again. This time, it came back even faster. By the end of 2 weeks, he had reviewed that chapter 4 times. Each time it required less effort. Each time it stuck deeper. This is how Japanese students remember thousands of kanji characters. Not by studying them once, but by reviewing them strategically over months and years. Spaced repetition is not optional, it's how memory works. By the 4th week, Rohan's grades were improving, not dramatically, but noticeably. He was remembering more, understanding more, feeling less anxious. But one day he came to Mr. Tanaka frustrated. I'm still not where I need to be. My friends are scoring higher. I'm improving, but not fast enough. Mr. Tanaka nodded slowly. You're making a mistake that destroys most students. You're comparing your progress to others instead of to yourself. He explained the 4th principle, Kaizen, a Japanese word meaning change for the better, or more simply, small daily improvement. The philosophy is this: don't try to become perfect overnight, just try to become 1% better than yesterday. Most students set impossible goals, like I'm going to study 8 hours a day starting tomorrow. They last 2 days, then give up, then feel like failures. But what if instead you just tried to be slightly better today than you were yesterday? Study 5 minutes longer. Remember one more concept. Make one fewer mistake, just 1%. That seems too small to matter, right? But here's the math. If you improve 1% every day for a year, you don't end up 365% better. You end up 37 times better. Because improvement compounds. Mr. Tanaka gave Rohan a new challenge. Stop trying to catch up to your friends. Stop trying to be the best student in 1 month. Just focus on being 1% better than you were yesterday. Rohan tried it. The next day, instead of studying for 6 hours, he studied for 6 hours and 10 minutes. The day after, 6 hours and 20 minutes. Tiny improvements, barely noticeable, but they added up. Within 2 months, Rohan was studying more effectively than students who spent twice as long, not because he worked harder, but because he worked smarter and consistently. There's one final principle Mr. Tanaka said during their last session. It's called SU Deep Focus. Most students study with their phone nearby, music playing, notifications buzzing, and they wonder why nothing sticks. Rohan felt called out. That was exactly what he did. Mr. Tanaka explained, your brain can only deeply process information when it's in a state of complete focus, not multitasking, not distracted, completely present. Japanese students use rituals to signal to their brain that it's time to learn. Some light a specific candle before studying. Some sit in the same spot every day. Some use the same pen. These small rituals create a psychological trigger. When the brain sees the ritual, it knows, now we focus. Mr. Tanaka had Rohan create his own ritual. Every day before studying, Rohan would turn off his phone completely, light a small candle on his desk, take 3 deep breaths, and say to himself for the next 15 minutes, I am fully present. The first time felt silly, but by the 3rd day, something shifted. The moment Rohan lit the candle, his mind became calm. The moment he took those 3 breaths, distractions faded away. Within 2 weeks, the ritual was automatic. Light the candle, brain enters focus mode, no effort required. This is the power of SU. When you train your brain with rituals, you don't have to fight for focus anymore. Focus becomes automatic. And when focus is automatic, learning becomes effortless. 3 months later, Rohan sat in the exam hall. Board exams, the moment he'd been terrified of for years. He opened the question paper, read the first question, and something incredible happened. The answer came to him, not slowly, not with struggle, immediately. He moved to the second question. Again, the answer was there. Third question, fourth, fifth, every single concept he'd studied using Mr. Tanaka's methods was right there in his mind. Clear, accessible, permanent. For the first time in his life, Rohan wasn't guessing, wasn't hoping, he was knowing. When the exam ended, he walked out calm, not anxious, not worried, just calm. His friends asked, "How was it?" "Easy," he said, and he meant it. 6 weeks later, the results came. Rohan scored 94%, higher than he'd ever scored in his life, higher than most of his friends who'd been smarter than him for years. But the percentage didn't matter as much as something else. For the first time, Rohan trusted his brain. He wasn't afraid of forgetting anymore because he finally understood how memory worked and how to work with it, not against it. Let me give you the complete framework, the exact system Rohan used, the same one Japanese students use. Principle 1, active recall. Stop passively rereading. Close your book, take a blank page, write everything you remember. The struggle to recall is where learning happens. Principle 2, the Kumon method. Study in short, focused bursts. 15 to 30 minutes of deep concentration, then rest. Quality over quantity, always. Principle 3, spaced repetition. Review information right before you forget it. Day 1, learn it. Day 2, review it. Day 4, review it. Day 7, review it. Day 14, review it. Each review makes the memory stronger. Principle 4, Kaizen. Don't try to be perfect overnight, just try to be 1% better than yesterday. Small daily improvements compound into massive transformation. Principle 5, Su, deep focus. Create a ritual that signals to your brain, now we learn. Light a candle, sit in the same spot, take 3 deep breaths, train your brain to enter focus mode automatically. These 5 principles aren't just for students, they're for anyone who wants to learn anything. A new language, a new skill, a new career. The principles don't change. Now you understand why you've been struggling. It was never about intelligence, never about effort. You were using methods designed to fail. Highlighting, rereading, cramming. These feel productive, but they don't work. Your brain needs struggle to learn, repetition to remember, focus to process deeply. When you remove any of these memory collapses, think about every time you've studied for hours, sitting with your textbook open, eyes moving across words, but your mind somewhere else. That wasn't studying, that was time wasted, not because you're lazy, but because nobody taught you the difference between passive exposure and active learning. Now you know, and knowing changes everything. From this moment forward, every time you sit down to study, you have a choice. Will you passively reread and hope it sticks? Or will you actively recall and make it permanent? Will you try to cram everything in one night? Or will you space it out and let your brain consolidate? Will you study for hours while distracted? Or will you study for minutes with complete focus? The choice is yours. If you're still here, it means you're serious about changing. But watching isn't enough, understanding isn't enough, you have to act. Right now, I want you to do something. Pick one subject, one topic, one concept you need to learn. Close this video and study that concept for 15 minutes using active recall. No distractions, no phone, just you, the material, and a blank page. Try to write down everything you understand. When you're done, wait 24 hours. Tomorrow, before you learn anything new, review what you wrote today, try to recall it again from memory. Then wait 3 days and review it again. Do this for 2 weeks, just one concept, 15 minutes a day, active recall plus spaced repetition plus deep focus. By the end of 2 weeks, that concept will be permanently stored in your brain, and when you see how well it works, you'll never go back to passive studying again. This is how transformation begins, not with motivation, not with massive action, but with one small focused step repeated until it becomes who you are. You now have the complete system, 5 principles that Japanese students use to remember everything. Active recall, Kumon method, spaced repetition, Kaizen, Su. But here's what most people don't realize. Learning how to remember is just the first step. Because once you can remember anything you study, you face a different enemy entirely. The enemy of distraction. You can know all these techniques, you can have the perfect study system, but if you can't control your habits, none of it matters. If you're addicted to your phone, you won't focus. If you're addicted to social media, you won't have time. If you're addicted to instant gratification, you won't have the discipline. And that's the real battle, not forgetting, but distraction. Rohan learned this too. After mastering memory, he realized his biggest enemy wasn't his brain failing him, it was his habits stealing from him. His phone pulling his attention every 3 minutes. His addictions draining his willpower before he even sat down to study. His patterns keeping him trapped in mediocrity. Until he broke free from those, his potential stayed locked. So he learned one more system, the ancient method for destroying any addiction, any bad habit, any pattern that keeps you stuck in the same place year after year. And what he discovered changed everything, because memory without discipline is just information you'll eventually lose. But memory with discipline, that's power you can never lose. If you're ready for that next level, if you're done making excuses, if you're finally willing to face the real enemy holding you back, then you need to watch what comes next. The video is called How to Get Rid of Any Bad Habit or Addiction, and it will show you exactly how to break free from the patterns that are stealing your focus, your time, your future, and your identity. Because you can have the sharpest memory in the world, but if your habits keep sabotaging you, you'll stay exactly where you are. Don't let that happen. The next video starts now. Don't go anywhere. This is where the real work begins.